myself again. But it's the only way you're ever gonna learn. You look back and it's all in the past. I'm dwelling on that.
Good evening and welcome to NUFC Matters with me, Steve Wraith. It is Thursday night and usually it's me, Gibbo and Supermac, but Gibbo's having a well-deserved break this week and having a little bit of R&R with these good ladies. So it's just good evening to Malcolm. How are you?
I'm all right, Steve. Thank you very much. And how are you?
Yes, all good, all good. I've been out with the kids today, taking them down to York, been down, managed to get back, no problems on the train. So thanks to LNER for that. But yeah, nice day down there. Just went for something to eat and had a walk around to burn the calories off. So it's been a nice day, Malcolm. And what's it been like down the coast? We were speaking before we came on air, and the coast is a little bit different, isn't it? You're getting that mist.
It changes from 1 hour to the next, Steve. It can be t-shirt weather with beautiful sunshine, really hot, and you can feel it tanning you. And then all of a sudden, the sea fret will drift across and block out the sun, and the temperature can drop loads of degrees to the point where if I'm out walking a dog, I have to rush home and go and get a thick jumper and put it on. The temperature changes that much, so it's a constant change here. That we're not getting what you're getting inland, which is constant super sunshine.
It's been nice. It has been nice. Well, the breaking news today, it doesn't really revolve around football. The breaking news is that Malcolm's old computer, there it is there, a picture of Malcolm's old computer in operation. That was Malcolm getting it fitted, has now been cast aside, and you've got a new computer, man.
Yeah, that's only a photograph of one room. The other half is in the other room.
Well, yeah, joking aside, you've ditched the old one, mate. So hopefully we'll not have any dog jokes tonight.
I hope not. And Billy's behaving himself now. He's not getting wound up, waiting for the computer to crash.
Good stuff. Fantastic. Okay, mate. Well, let's move away from Newcastle to start with and talk about England. You know, you're still the only person to score 5 goals in a game for England against Cyprus, of course. And, the England squad's been announced for the delayed Euros. Of course, this is Euro 2020 being played in 2021. What did you make of the squad and what did you make of last night's game?
Well, what we have at the moment, I really do feel that we've got a glut of fabulous talent, and so it's getting them all together, organised, and able to turn it on the pitch. And what did impress me last night was because the Austrians, they tried heavy tackling tactics to the point of committing quite a number of nasty fouls. But the England side, they dealt with it and they kept on playing, kept on plugging away. And I was quite happy with what I saw in the way that they dealt with that overly physical presence that Austria had, and so yeah, I was quite happy with it. It's a friendly. You never get that real competitive edge into a friendly usually, and I'm looking forward to the second game. But certainly, I thought it was a real good warm up for the competition reel.
It was interesting to see that he's taken 4 right backs and 4 centre backs, which James Rose has mentioned. And I mean, I saw Gareth Southgate's interview this morning, and he said, "Well, it suits what we're trying to do with the squad." I get the impression he was talking about, away from football as well as on the pitch. So maybe it's a good blend of players. It's a good blend in the dressing room. But to take a risk as he has done on, Maguire and Henderson.
And Henderson as well,
and now Alexander-Arnold looks as if Trent Alexander-Arnold looks like he's going to miss out. That means he's going to have to bring somebody else in. It's strange, isn't it? And it's a strange way to go into a major tournament.
Yes, I have certain doubts about Gareth, and they sort of have sort of rode over from his time at Middlesbrough. So, to include injured players who've been out for a long while, for heaven's sake, it can take them 2, 3, 4 weeks to get themselves up to match fitness and get everything that's necessary back on form. And so it's a bit more than just taking a chance on these guys. I do feel that with them being injured, there's opportunities to give good youngsters a chance in the squad, and I think he's missing that. Maybe he wants Henderson around because I think Henderson, he's been captain of Liverpool and very successfully so. And I think he's got a very sensible head on his shoulders. And so sometimes it's worth having one player like that just in the squad, even though he's not going to play, just to be around all the while. He's a great influence. But then Maguire's been out for a really long time, and I just don't see the sense of taking the chance on two players. And now, of course, with the Liverpool right back being injured, that doesn't leave Gareth with any real cover, does he? He's only got 3 right backs left.
Strange selection, but we might be proved wrong. It'll be interesting to see what happens in due course. But yeah, we'll keep an eye on that over the summer. Obviously, just over a week now to go before the Euros start proper. And let's get into the questions from people in the chat. Quite a few coming in. Good evening, everybody. And Billy says, good evening, Stephen Supermac. I understand that Swansea have beaten Newcastle, signing the young forward from Wigan, Kyle Joseph. Do you agree with me? A Premier League team should have more pull than Swansea, Malcolm.
Yes. But is this just newspaper talk, or were Newcastle absolutely dead set on signing him? I don't know that they were, but sometimes you have a youngster who, and Wigan at the moment they're at level 3, playing in Division 1, and so he might just feel that jumping from there to the Premiership is maybe too big a jump at the moment, and that moving up into the Championship is ideal for him, and to enable him just to keep that run of improvement in himself going, without taking that massive leap. And more than likely, he's going to be guaranteed first-team football at Swansea, but I don't think he'd see first-team football at Newcastle. That he would probably be signed and find himself playing most of the time in the under-23s.
Yeah, I would agree. No guarantees, of course, that he was
Yeah,
actually being, considered by Newcastle. But good
sure.
question, Billy.
Yeah, it is a good question. Do you know how much Swansea paid for him?
No, I don't. Maybe Billy can let us know. I haven't seen
Yeah.
that. I hadn't seen that today. Mad Mag Mark says, Malcolm, did you ever play against Laurie Cunningham when he was at West Brom and you were at Arsenal? If so, do you have any stories about him on the pitch? What a player he was at the time.
Do you know, I can't ever remember playing against Laurie Cunningham. So I guess that he came a little bit later than me. I've retired in '79, albeit I only played a couple of games in the during '79, and then I had to retire through injury. So no, I do not recall playing against Laurie Cunningham, and a good player, absolutely terrific player. But my last recollection of West Bromwich Albion was it was on the Friday. We had trained at Arsenal, and we were then having a team meeting, and we used to have the players' room. We used to hold the meetings in there, and we had two or three dodgy results from dodgy performances, and so Don Howe came into the room and got everybody seated, and he just came then and stood in front of me, and he started lambasting me. And I went to respond, and he went, "Sit down, shut up, listen." And he just started lambasting me again. And this went on and on, and I was looking around, and you could see them, the other players, absolutely cringing with embarrassment, with that they were there and witnessing this character assassination by Don Howe. And he finished up continuing this for an hour and a quarter without repeating himself, and he just absolutely slaughtered me. And we were playing West Brom the next day. and he never said a word to one single other player. And I thought, well, this is out of order, because at least I've been scoring goals. Might not have been playing that well, but I was scoring goals. And having finished with me, he just turned on his heel and walked out the room with no further explanation. And I've never witnessed anything or received anything like it ever in my life. You know, you have arguments, and you get a rucking or a rollicking here and there, but this was absolute character assassination. And so the other players, they were so embarrassed for me. They didn't know how to behave with me, so everybody sort of just departed out the room, and I found myself sat there with just a couple of the other players, the more senior players. And so the next day I came in, and I thought, right, sod ya, I am seriously going for it today. And we were playing West Brom, and we beat them 3-0, and I scored all 3 goals. So as we were coming off the pitch, Don Howe was just stood on the sidelines, and I came and I got near to him, and I said, "You can stick that hat trick right up where the sun don't shine." And he just smiled, and he said, "But it worked, didn't it?" I thought, you bastard. And so he followed me up the tunnel and he said, come in my room, he said, and come and have a chat with me. So I said, all right. And he went in and he said, and what he said was quite amazed me. He said, the team has been playing badly, and you haven't been playing that badly. You've been scoring goals, so your confidence was higher than everybody else's. And so he said, I needed to find the one person who could take an absolute slaughtering and not just go right down with it. He said, I needed somebody to fight back, but not there on the pitch, not in the room, out on the pitch. And he said, and you did exactly that. And he was very shrewd, was Don. And so he said, and it worked. He said, let's go back over your 3 goals. He said, look at the hard work that people were putting in to making those 3 chances. He said, and that's what we've been missing. So he said, there you go. It worked. Great coach was Don Howe. The best that I've ever worked with. He really was. But he was a great psychologist as well. Brilliant psychologist. And so it was the bollocking of a lifetime, was that. And I shall never, ever forget it. And every time I went to say something, he went, sit down, shut up.
Brilliant stuff. Brilliant stuff. Darren Cowan says, good evening all. Malcolm, the takeover goes through. You get offered a job at Newcastle. Would you take it?
I don't know. It would depend on what's offered, but at the same time, my age is against me now, and so the demands are quite different to decades ago, and I've been sort of out of touch with the sort of inside of football. I've been on the periphery and what have you. So it would never happen. I would never be considered for anything, I don't think. I've got no track record outside of the 80s. So I don't think it's even a question that I can even really consider. I would love to get the offer or the inquiry and see what they've got to say, but it won't happen.
Yep. Okay, that answers that question. The question there about Malcolm's best goal, he has mentioned that and talked about it before on numerous occasions, so I'm sorry I've had to skip that one. Grant Thurlaway says, evening Steve and Malcolm. Poor England game last night, in my opinion. I hope Gateshead's Graham takes the reins. Graham Jones, of course. Funny how Fraser looks a different player when he's playing for Scotland, isn't it, lads? Yeah, a lot of people have mentioned that today on social media.
Steve, I think that what he's done is an utter disgrace. I really do. He has given absolutely nothing to Newcastle since he's been here. He's played 3-4 times and not done anything really. Not done anything at all. And why Newcastle ever signed him, I really don't know. Because at the end of last season, not the one just gone, but the one before, when he was at Bournemouth and everything was delayed, and so they said there's an extension to contracts that that won't make any difference going over the June 30th date, which is the end of contract. And he just refused to play. And Bournemouth were struggling, and they needed every man who could make a difference for the better. And he just flatly refused. And I was really annoyed. In fact, I was worse than annoyed when Fraser was signed by Newcastle, because Newcastle United don't need players like that. I thought what he did was absolutely despicable to Bournemouth, and he's shown his true colours at Newcastle. He really has. I wouldn't have touched him with a barge pole, I tell you.
Yeah, okay, fair enough. And the next question is from Joe Walker. Good evening, Joe. He says, Supermac, in a world of no takeover, realistically, if we could sign one striker from the Premier League to do a job for us, who would you sign? I like the look of Chris Wood from Burnley.
He does well, does Chris Wood. He lacks a bit of pace, but he certainly puts himself about. He gets on the end of an awful lot of things. And I like his attitude to it all. But Burnley would want more money than Steve Bruce is going to have. From what I understand, Steve Bruce has been told that he will get £12 million for the transfer market and anything else that he makes from sales. Well, Chris Wood, what would Burnley be asking for him? 25 million?
You would imagine so.
At least. And so Newcastle aren't in any Premiership ballpark for players. They really aren't. Oh dear me, it's. I'll go back not to this last season where Fulham got relegated, but a couple of 3 seasons back when Fulham were previously relegated, because they went down and then came straight back up. When they went down that first time, in the summer preceding that season, they spent £112 million. That's £100 million more than Steve Bruce has got at his disposal now. And Fulham, that amount of money wasn't enough, and they were relegated with quite a number of games still left of the season. What difference 12 million is going to make, I don't know. What I do fear is that you see, it's the psychological aspect of all of this that players at Newcastle, with the way that Ashley runs the club, they have fought relegation. What they want is something better than that. They want to not be fighting relegation, but fighting for some success of sorts. They're not going to win the Premiership, but there are other things to win, and so the mental state of players when they see that Steve Bruce is going to have 12 million, and the players will go, "What? That's a joke. That's an absolute joke." If you think about it, that once the season finishes, that clubs are paid. Manchester City got the highest amount. They got a fortune. Manchester United got slightly less. Liverpool got less than that, and it keeps going down. Or if you look at it the other way, it goes up. Now, when you think that in the last few games of the season, Newcastle, who were fourth bottom, they were just above Fulham, and they've suddenly risen to 12th place. Now, there must be a difference of somewhere in the, and maybe somebody can check this out to get the exact figure, but the difference between being in that 17th place and rising up to 12th, I bet there's a difference in somewhere in the region of 30 million. So Mike Ashley, he's received that payment, or is going to receive that payment of about 30 million quid, and he's giving a third of it, just over a third, to Steve Bruce, and you would think that he'd say, well, I wasn't expecting that. There you go. There's the full whack for having done well over the last few games. But he's not doing that. He's saying, "Oh, right, thank you very much. We'll have that." And Steve Bruce, you can have the 12 million. And it's very difficult, albeit I do understand that Mike Ashley, he's wanting to sell the club in 2 months' time. He doesn't want to make promises to Steve Bruce that's going to cost him a fortune when it's not going to be anything to do with him before the players get out on the pitch to show what they can do. So it's a very difficult one. I have to say on this, Steve, that this Premier League thing that's been going on, and they've said that they will give the results. Is it later this month?
Yes.
Yes. For them to do it so late in the day, why? Why could they not have done it? The situation has been there since the summer of last year. Why could the Premier League not have got those people together and said, right, do this in February, do it in March? Why is it being left to now?
Because they're trying to drag it out again.
Yeah, they're trying to drag it out. But that's put Mike Ashley into a very difficult position, because he's not wanting to spend money. He just wants to sell the club and let the new people get on with it. Let it be their responsibility. But and so the Premier League could finally say yes, and then the deal can go through, and then just around the corner, the transfer window shuts.
Yeah,
I honestly think that what the Premier League have done, this isn't amateurish. This is picking on Newcastle. This is punishing them for what? For wanting to improve themselves. And after the debacle of this European Super League and the 6 clubs that were involved with them, and nothing has been done about that. They should have gone in and hammered all 6. And instead, who are they actually hammering? Newcastle United. I think it's absolutely shocking.
Yeah, you're not getting any arguments from me or anybody here in the chat, I don't think. A big shout out to Spider VPN, who've kindly agreed to keep on going, sponsoring us again throughout the month of June. For all your internet security, just Google Spider VPN. They can protect your passwords, make sure that you don't get phished, and various other things. So get on to Spider VPN. Great to have the guys on board once again. And big thanks to Scott as well from skipsandbins.com, who has agreed to stay on for June as well. Telephone 0800 0800 25 45 25 3. Email inquiries at skipsandbins.com. Website www.skipsandbins.com. Easy contract, free and you pay as you go waste collection. And there is Sir Bobby. He's up in the top right hand corner there as well, and there he is wearing his NUFC Matters strip. But big shout out to Scott for agreeing again to come on board, and also big thanks to John, qtechshop.co.uk, the makers of pool tables and snooker tables in Wallsend, Newcastle, and to John at Jab Signature as well. They've both linked up on something as well, which is nice to see people doing a little bit of business together. And Newcastle Legends logo in the bottom right hand corner, just roll over that and you can subscribe to the channel for free. We'll be continuing through the summer, 7 shows. As I said, tomorrow night as well, we are back 5:30. There'll be myself and the usual crew, Keith Patterson, Neil Mitchell and Steve Hasty, will be joining you at 5:30 for a couple of hours. Probably be so look forward to that. As I say, plenty coming up. Okay, let's get back to the questions. Mark Henderson asks a question about last night's game. Why was Jesse Lingard playing, Malcolm, if he wasn't going to the Euros?
I don't know.
Strange.
Yeah, strange. But then Gareth makes some strange decisions. He was full of them at Middlesbrough, and I think the same. He talks quite well, but there's an awful lot that he says that doesn't make sense. He doesn't fully explain it. And I think that he needs to help us all to understand better what's going through his head, or maybe he wants to keep it a secret. But a lot of things that he decides upon don't make a lot of sense. And just going back to the start of the program, the 4 right backs.
Yeah.
Good heavens, Alf Ramsey, who was a right back himself, Alf Ramsey would go, good heavens above, what on earth do you think you're doing? It doesn't really make any sense at all. It certainly doesn't. But that's Gareth for you.
Yeah, no, it is. Where do you think England will finish in the Euros? How far do you think they can go? Asks Keith Rowe.
Right. I will be very disappointed if England don't reach certainly the quarterfinals. I would, but I will be disappointed if they don't get through into the semi-finals. Anything beyond that then is a bonus. And it would be a welcome bonus. I really do feel there is a huge amount of talent in this squad. There's some absolutely brilliant players, and if the team can just be put together in the very best way that allows all of these guys to get the very best out of themselves, then I don't see any reason why we can't win it. We've certainly got the talent, but whether we can work as a team well enough, that's what I'm not sure about.
Do you think you should have taken another striker, says Lee Taylor? Kane, DCL and Rashford, he says. I mean, it's 3 strikers is, if you lose one to injury, I suppose. But yeah, what's your thoughts on that? And I mean, another one, James Rose is just saying, I agree. I think Stones and Tomori are our best centre backs. Lots of England stuff coming in tonight. But yeah, I mean, what's your thoughts?
Yes, I think you should have taken another forward. This 4 right backs, it's going to be the hangman's noose that does for Gareth Southgate, because if they don't do really well, the press will go to town on Gareth Southgate, and say, well, 2 right backs would have been enough. He could have left 2 right backs out and had another forward, maybe even a second forward. But the press, of course, they're in this advantageous position whereby they can wait for it all to go wrong. And if England are short of goals, then they can say, well, two right backs should have been left at home, and he could have got 2 forwards in, and or whatever. Or if things aren't going right in midfield, they can say, well, he should have had more midfield players, and so on and so forth. You're always sort of, as a manager, you're always putting yourself up to be shot down. But that, 4 right backs in the squad, that really is a quite bizarre decision. Absolutely bizarre. 4 right backs, 3 forwards. Doesn't make sense.
No, it's going to come back and bite him on the backside, I think. James Brown says, Alex McLeish reckons Newcastle should make a move for free agent Danny Rose, as it would be a deal the fans would love. What are your thoughts on that? Yeah, I saw that today reported in the Chronicle. Alex McLeish saying that Danny Rose would be a great signing. I think from my collection, he wasn't the greatest loan signing, Malcolm.
He certainly wasn't. If Alex McLeish had been sat with me when Danny Rose was out there playing, he wouldn't be making a comment like this now. That's for sure. No. He didn't impress me one iota, Danny Rose. And I think he's getting pretty close to the end, isn't he? So maybe if he drops a level, that would really benefit and suit him.
My money is that he'll end up anywhere that does good fish and chips, which is clearly what he was more interested in when he was at Newcastle. Adam Kavanagh says, where does Malcolm think Harry Kane will end up this season? Or does he think he'll stay at Spurs if they get Conte as manager? And finally, what would Malcolm do if he was in Kane's situation? Great question, Adam.
Yeah, it is a good question. I personally think he will he's going to end up in Manchester. Which club he signs for all depends, but certainly both of those clubs will throw a lot of money at the whole situation, and I can't see him going abroad. He's captain of England, and he wants to keep that going. And I think that he's more comfortable in his home country, and of course he won't get all the problems that come with moving abroad. You've got to learn a new language and so on and so forth. Yeah, I can see him in Manchester now. The Italian manager, he's a spiky creature, and even when he gets massive success, it happened at Chelsea, it's just happened at Inter Milan, that having got the success, he then kicks off and threatens to walk and does walk. So quite how he'll fit in at Spurs, if he goes there, I'm not so sure that he will. I'm really not so sure that he will.
Carrying on the Harry Kane theme, James Brown says, if Harry Kane stays in the Premier League, do you think he'll break Shearer's record?
It's a good question. I don't think he will. I really don't. Albeit, I say that's if he stayed at Spurs.
Yeah.
But if he went to, say, somewhere like Man City, then it's a completely different ball game.
Yeah.
And he could be scoring for fun there.
Yeah.
The same as Aguero.
That's it, yeah. Exactly. It'll be interesting to see where he moves to. Paul Oxley, a man of mischief, knowing what Malcolm's views are on this player, but he says, Malcolm, how many games would you give Joe Linton next season? He's had 69 appearances so far, 6 goals.
Yeah. I'd play him every week with the kids. Let them teach him how to play properly.
He was better last season, Mal. He was better last season. He couldn't have been much worse, mate. Jason Carter says, Malcolm, who's your favourite manager of the Premiership era? Not just Newcastle, but right across the board. Another good question.
Yeah, favourite manager of the Premiership era.
I've loved Klopp while you're having a bit think.
Yes.
I've really loved Klopp. I think he's been a breath of fresh air.
Klopp, certainly. Pochettino, another one. And of course, Pep. He's absolutely superb.
Fantastic, isn't he?
Yeah, it's difficult to pick one out. There are some managers. Look at what's being done at West Ham at the moment. Dave. He did a great job at Everton for years, and he went to Manchester United. He was always going to be on a loser there, always following Alex Ferguson.
Just like Dalglish following Keegan, wasn't it?
Yes, it was. Yeah, absolutely. When Matt Busby retired, if you remember, it was exactly the same scenario. That it was an impossible situation to follow. So, we mentioned Conte a few minutes ago. Conte at Chelsea, he was absolutely terrific.
He was, yeah.
Yeah. But I suppose if I had to pick one out, I think it would have to be Pep Guardiola. The way he just puts a side together, the way he gets them playing, and of course you look back over his record pre this country, where he's been managing beforehand. It's a record that's literally second to none.
Yeah, Jason's answer was Keegan and Sir Alex Ferguson. He says he was a genius, Alex Ferguson. Thanks you for your answer as well. Says very honest. Roger Cook saying, what's your views on the Celtic centre-half Newcastle have been linked with? Lee Clark was on the other night, and of course Lee managed him. He's advising the guy, if he gets the opportunity to move to Newcastle, to come. But he rates him highly. Adam McKilmartin. Ajay.
I've got to be honest. I think I've only seen him once or twice. The problem with watching a defender playing for Rangers or Celtic, they're never fully put under pressure, because Rangers and Celtic are always so on top in the match against lower opposition that it's very difficult to judge centre halves in that situation. It's only once he moves and you see him under that entirely different kind of pressure that even the sides at the top, their centre halves are put under pressure by opposing forwards, and that doesn't happen so much in Scotland. So it's difficult to judge. It really is. But it'll be interesting to see where he goes. Would you fancy him at Newcastle?
To be honest, I always bank on Clarkey for being honest. He's an honest manager, and if he thinks somebody's a bad player, he'll tell you. Believe you me,
he'll tell you. Yes.
Okay. And I think the fact that he's seen him and he knows what he's like, he says he's he would fit in well in the Premier League. So he knows his stuff. So yeah, I would say, yeah, I mean, take a gamble. Look, at £5 or £6 million, it's peanuts. And it fits in.
Is that all he is?
Fits into the budget. It could be another Van Dijk,
right,
Malcolm.
yes.
Could be another Van Dijk we discover. So you never know. You never know. Life Goal says it's 109 for 2. It's 109 for 2.
He's a good painter, is he, this fella?
It's Life Goal says it's 109 for 2 at the moment, Malcolm. Not a bad recovery by Root and Burns. Just I know you love your cricket, he says.
Yes, absolutely.
Good stuff. Billy Trey says, Liam Brady was one of the finest midfielders I've seen. Was he as much pleasure to play alongside as he was to watch?
Oh, he was unbelievable. Chippy, we called him. He could just dominate from one corner flag to the other, all the way up the left-hand side. He could come into the centre. Oh, dear me. How many times have I seen him lose the ball? I can't remember once. He was a phenomenal player. He had the ability to just about do anything that he wanted to. He was a sheer joy to play with. You know, it was almost like he had a 360-degree vision going on, and it was almost as if he read your thoughts. You know, that he would play the ball before you'd even gone. You know, that it's as if he read your thoughts. You know, where you're thinking, come on, just play it in front of me, and he would. Made me a lot of goals, and a lovely guy. Absolutely lovely guy. And after he came back from playing in Italy, and he retired from playing, I think he went to West Ham for a while, and then he joined Arsenal as the youth team coach. Can you imagine being a young teenager and you've got Liam Brady teaching you to play, and he had such a lovely, he has such a lovely way about him, does Liam. And the kids would have learned huge amounts from him. Great guy, lovely fella. And when people ask me who the best player is that I've played with, then it is Liam Brady, without any shadow of a doubt.
Great stuff. Smiler says, if you were still involved in the game today, what things would you find most frustrating? That's as a manager and as a player.
The way the rules are being interpreted, the way that referees are being instructed to this VAR nonsense, where they allow the game to go. Somebody is blatantly offside or whatever, and yet they allow the game to go on and all sorts to happen, and then it's pulled all the way back about 60 seconds, 90 seconds, sometimes 2 minutes even, and you think, what the hell is going on? And the game is for playing, not for being taken backwards, as the referees are being instructed to do now. And VAR could be a terrific thing. I think it's the people who are using it that are not getting it right, and also the instructions that are being given to the officials.
Yeah. Okay. David Robinson says, do you still keep in touch with Jinky Smith?
Oh, see Jinky. Yeah. See him fairly often. Yeah, he looks ever so well, does Jinky. He's had one or two health scares, but haven't we all? By the time we get to this age, and he really is looking ever so well, and a fantastic player. Yes, he was. He was. A word to describe him. He was mercurial.
Great word. Great word.
Yeah.
Like,
and in one game we were playing Wolves, and the captain and central midfield player was a guy called Mike Bailey, and Jinky went out, and Mike Bailey gave him a bit of verbal abuse, and Jinky from there on, he started nutmegging him, and Mike Bailey was getting more and more upset and angry about it, and he started trying to kick Jinky, and he just couldn't do it. Jinky it just put the studs down and give him a little mark on his shin, and then nutmeg him. And in the end, Mike Bailey, he was pulling his hair out. He was nutmegged in that game 22 times in the game. Oh, Jinky was absolutely outrageous. But if you go on YouTube, when we played, we played in the 5th round of the FA Cup in 1974, West Bromwich Albion. And Jinky was the sub, and Terry Hibbick got injured in the first few minutes, and he went off, and Jinky came on, and he just ran the show. He just ran the whole of the show. But please have a look at his cross for the first goal. I happened to score it, but what a cross! Nobody could get near it, and it was just right there for me to head us in front 1-0. And it came like a bullet. And watch the trajectory of it. It's incredible. And he was a joy to play with, was Jinky, and he was a joy to be in the company of as well. Real good, man.
Fantastic. Life goals changing tact a little bit. He says, Supermac, question for you. You ran the 100 metres in 10.6 seconds on Superstars in your prime, and the 1980 Olympic 100 metres was won with 10.2. Do you think you could have competed if you'd trained for it?
Actually, it wasn't 10.6, it was 10.4.
Wow, even better.
I ran 10.4, and they cancelled it, and we had to run again because somebody else had false started, and it just didn't look right on television. Yeah, so that was my best time, 10.4, and the great athletics coach, he was up in the stand, and he signalled for me to go up, and he said, you've just run 10.4. He said, and he said that is the second quickest time in the world this year. He said there's an Italian who's run 10.1. He said, and he said, have you ever had any real athletic coaching on sprinting coaching? And I said, no, not really. I've done everything myself. He said, well, if I work with you for about 6 months, he said, and you listen carefully to what I say and do exactly what I want you to do, he said, I would knock off at least half a second. At least. And now that would take it down to 9.9 from 10.4. And he said, I will get you down to that at least, and maybe more, he said. And at the time, the world record was 9.9. Yeah.
Wow. Pietro Mena.
Ron Pickering. his name was.
Was it Pietro Mena? Was the Italian? Gary saying.
All right.
Might have done his research there. Life Goal says Alan Wells won the Olympic gold in 10.25 seconds and bronze was 10.39 in 1980.
That's right. You know, and the world record was held by an American who had done it in 9.9. You know, and 9.9 and the 10.3 that he's just mentioned that Alan Wells did, it's about 2.5 yards, the difference between that. So the world record holder, if he running the world record run that he did, he would have finished about 2.5 to 3 yards in front of Alan Wells.
Yeah, amazing. Gary Milligan says, would you call Jinky Smith a maverick?
Oh, without a doubt. I've called him a load of things as well. And he usually laughs. Yes, he had a maverick attitude to a lot of things, but by heavens, when he knuckled down, say your prayers, because he was dangerous, not just as a footballer, but the way that he could go about the game physically. And there was no messing with Jinky.
Yeah. Final question tonight, Mal. Let's get back to the back end of last season. Jimmy says, Supermac, who would you say your best player of the season was for Newcastle?
For Newcastle, without any question, Matt Ritchie. I thought he was absolutely terrific. And he just kept giving 100% every single game. He was played out of position, and he's not that good at defending, but he just gave it his all and still got forward, still got crosses in, and I thought he was absolutely terrific. I really did. And Rafa messed him about a bit, and Steve Bruce messed him about, and then of course they had that the big row. But Matt Ritchie, for me, he is as near to being the best pro at Newcastle right now, and I would hate to see him go. Because I think he does a great job on the left-hand side. You know, I always remember I had the opportunity as a kid to have a conversation with Bobby Robson, who was about 24 at the time, and I was about 6 or 7. And Bobby Robson, he asked me, he says, you know, do you play, son? And I said, yeah, I do. I play for my school just up the road. And he said, oh, good. He said, so what position do you play? I said, well, it just depends on where I'm needed. I might play centre half. I might play midfield. I might play centre forward. Oh, he says, so you can play a bit then. He said, so what foot do you use? I said, well, I'm left footed. And he just went into raptures. He said, and he said, every team has got to have a left footer. He said, what they do is they make the pitch wide. He said, you have somebody on the left who's right footed, they come inside and they narrow everything down. He said, but if you've got a really good left foot there, it just makes the pitch so big for the rest of your team to go and play in. And I never forgot that. And that's exactly what Ritchie does. He makes the pitch much bigger. And he does it in a great way. And he can do it at the back, in the middle, and up front as well. And he's a terrific crosser of the ball.
Yeah, great player. Let's hope we'll keep a hold of him. Mal, do you want to give a special thank you to whoever gave you the new computer, or what computer is it? Because you're getting a lot of praise.
Well, what happened was that my wife, she got me a computer. She got me a new one. She was fed up with mine just suddenly collapsing, and so. But what she got was a Chromebook, and so
very good.
No, but there was no compatibility. So for transferring stuff from one to the other, and so I was able to exchange it and get what I've got now, and it's an absolutely super little machine. And in fact, I had it all fully done by a professional, and he was impressed. He said, "Hey, what a really good machine that Acer is," and it's. He said, really impressed. He said, very quick, great picture quality, and what have you, which is important. You know, when you're doing things like this, you need good picture quality and good sound quality.
So what kind of computer is it, Mal? Just in case anybody wants to go and buy one.
It's an Acer Aspire 5, full HD, 1080.
There we go. Good stuff. There's a little plug for Acer. Well done. You've got Malcolm through the full show tonight, so that's fantastic. Help by Spider VPN. Brilliant.
I can't get off early anymore.
That's it. Great stuff. Mal, absolute pleasure to speak to you. Look forward to seeing you next Thursday when I think we'll be rejoined by Gibbo. I hope he's having a great time. But take care, Mal.
I'm sure he is. Yeah, indeed. Everybody, do take care, and look forward to seeing you all next week.
Take care. Good night.
Steve.
Attack. It feels like I've been talking to myself again, but it's the only way you're ever gonna learn. You look back and it's all in